Welcome to Cinnamon Babe Horror Stories. I'm Cinnamon Babe, and every Friday I discuss creepy topics while I do my makeup. So if you're new, please like and subscribe, and please enjoy the video. Okay, so today we are discussing the Cecil Hotel, which is currently renamed the Stay On Hotel. The Cecil Hotel is located downtown Los Angeles and is in smack dab in the middle of Skid Row. The Cecil Hotel is what we consider to be the most haunted hotel in Los Angeles, and it has currently housed minimum 16 murders, suicides, and unexplainable paranormal activity. The hotel was built by Banks Hanner, and he intended for it to be a luxurious hotel that served international businessmen. It was opened December 20th, 1924, just 2 years before the Great Depression. Once the Great Depression hit, the direction of the hotel's future literally switched. It literally went the opposite direction. Instead of it being a luxury hotel, it completely declined and became like a budget hotel where people would have extended stays. The hotel has 14 floors and 700 rooms, and it cost $1 million to build. So the owner, Banks, it became an instant regret because, like I said, once the Great Depression hit and other unfortunate events, the hotel's future plummeted. It went downhill from there. So due to the decline of the neighborhood, it is today what we call Skid Row. And what Skid Row is the heaviest population in America of homeless people. And because of the neighborhood basically declining like that, the hotel ended up attracting a lot of riffraff such as sex workers, criminals, sex offenders, basically the wrong crowd, I'm sure drug dealers. It ended up just really plummeting and making the hotel go down with it because the surrounding neighborhood, and like I said, Skid Row has the hugest population of homeless, unfortunately. And the Cecil Hotel is basically right in the center of it. In January 22nd, 1927, the first documented suicide that occurred was by Percy Almond Cook, who was in his 50s, and he had a separation from his wife, and it really took a toll on him. So unfortunately, he took his life by gunshot, and already that brings a bad name and bad press to the hotel. So by the 1930s, there had already been multiple suicides. Some guests had ingested poison. Another huge popular way guests would take their life was jumping from the building itself, the Cecil Hotel itself. Another way is a man ended up slitting his own throat, and unfortunately the hotel staff had to find a lot of these guests in their hotel rooms after they committed suicide, which is really terrible on both parts. It's so sad. There have been some instances where a person fell from the roof and it hasn't been proven whether or not they committed suicide, or if someone pushed them, or if it was a mistake. So a lot of the labeled suicides are not really proven. So we don't know if some of them have been homicides. So January 1940, a Dorothy Sager sent out a note to her family members. She was currently staying at the Cecil Hotel, and she sent out a note to her family members notifying them that she was going to commit suicide, and unfortunately she ingested poison capsules and was found dead in her hotel room. And it's crazy because a lot of the suicides were either by poison or mainly by jumping from the building. In December of 1944, a Dorothy Jean Purcell, she was age 19, she was staying at the Cecil Hotel, and she was unknowingly pregnant. And so one late night, she went to the bathroom and she ended up giving birth to a baby boy. And she claims, and I do not believe this at all, that she believed the infant to be a stillborn. And so instead of going to get help, she throws the baby out the window. Yeah. And instead of the authorities, like, basically, considering this a homicide and locking her up for the rest of her life, they believed her story that she believed the child was not alive, and so she did not get charged. Well, she got charged, but she didn't get convicted. And she basically got away with it because of insanity. They believed it was due to insanity. And I just find that to be really sad. Like, in my opinion, she should have, rotted for the rest of her life in prison. So I believe that was the first documented murder that took place at the Cecil Hotel. And like I said, it's very unfortunate because, she could have gotten help for the child if she believed the child was no longer living. They could have tried something other than throwing the child out of the window, but whatever. So that was the first documented murder that happened at the Cecil. The next happened in 1964 by Jaquez B. Ellinger. Now, he was acquitted because they did not have enough evidence, but he was seen after the murder. Goldie Oswood, who was known as Pigeon because I guess she liked pigeons, Jaquez was seen walking around with bloody clothing, but that's it. That's all they saw him with, but still, I feel like that's pretty damning. But back then they didn't have DNA, but I feel like they could, if they still have the clothes, they could test it. I don't know, whatever. But he was seen walking around with bloody clothing. When the hotel staff had walked in on Pigeon, or Goldie's, walked in her room was ransacked, and she had been beaten and stabbed and sexually assaulted, unfortunately, and that's how they found her. And after he was acquitted, Jaquez was acquitted, there was no other charges to anybody. So basically that is a cold case and it's never been solved. So also I need to mention that in 1962, a 65-year-old man was walking past the Cecil. He wasn't even staying at it. And a woman jumped from the building. Well, I don't know if they 100% proved that she jumped or fell. And when her body hit him, it ended both their life on impact. That is the craziest thing to me. It's so sad. Just imagine that, you're walking past a building and the building is so messed up that walking past it is not even safe. I just find that to be so sad. So yeah, it literally ended both their life on impact. And it hasn't 100% been proven that she jumped or fell or was pushed. Next, I need to mention that 2 serial killers basically stayed at the Cecil Hotel. They temporarily lived there. And that's another thing that brings down the reputation of this hotel. There's already been, by then, there had already been multiple suicides and a couple, terrible homicides. And so by the 1980s, the Night Stalker, Richard Ramirez, lived on the 14th floor. And it is said that it was during his bloody spree. He would basically go out and unalive people and then go back to the hotel and discard of his bloody clothing. And after he would discard of his bloody clothing, he would literally walk into the hotel lobby in the nude or just in his underwear. And it is also said that he was a Satanist, and so he would do satanic rituals on the roof. In 1991, the Austrian serial killer Jack Unterweger, I think I'm pronouncing that correctly, he was notorious for unaliving sex workers and strangling them with their bra. And he used the surrounding area of the Cecil Hotel, basically Skid Row, as his hunting grounds because, like I said, that area was rich with sex workers, homeless people, stuff like that. So it was perfect for somebody like him. And he would literally like lure women and then just return back to the hotels if nothing happened. A lot of his murders happened like very close to the hotel. I don't know if it happened like actually inside the hotel, but it is also said that he dated the hotel receptionist. His stay was also inspired by the Night Stalker. I guess he looked up to Richard Ramirez, and so he chose to stay at the Cecil Hotel as inspiration. And plus, like I said, you know, the area was perfect for someone like him. Like I said, a lot of murders took place either at the hotel or near it. And a prime example of that would be famously known as Black Dahlia, but Elizabeth Short. In 1947, she stayed at the Cecil Hotel, and it is also noted that she complained to someone about like feeling like she was being haunted while she lived there. She like felt paranoid, and it is said that she went to an authority and told them, and they kind of like brushed her off, and this is right before she was murdered. But unfortunately, and this is so close to the hotel, her body was found, like she went missing, and her body was found mutilated on the street in the nude, very close, like to the Cecil Hotel where she was staying, and they never found who did it. The case remains unsolved, and this happened January 15th, 1947. I would also like to emphasize that on Skid Row to date, there is one death a day, and usually it is homeless people. It's not always like homicides or like foul play, but you know, like homeless people abusing themselves, and you know, they just, a lot of times the bodies will be found either outside in the alley or sometimes in the hotel lobby, sometimes in the hallways of the Cecil Hotel. So already the Cecil Hotel has seen so many like deaths, whether they have been murders, suicides, or just natural causes or overdoses. It's just been a lot, like a very dark history. So the second to last death that happened at the Cecil Hotel is Alyssa Lamb. The very last death after her that happened was 2015. An unidentified man's body was found outside the Cecil Hotel, and it is said that he either jumped or fell. They didn't say or pushed, but basically it was ruled a suicide. It's a closed case, but still, that's so recent, 2015. So Alyssa Lamb was born April 30th, 1991 in Vancouver, Canada, and her parents were Hong Kong immigrants who owned a restaurant. Alyssa was described as being a bright, loving child who loved to basically donate her time and like help out with organizations. And she was a college student at the University of British Columbia. As a young woman, Alyssa enjoyed writing in her blog. She loved poetry, she loved fashion, and in her blogs, she would post pictures of like fashion photos, like fashion inspiration, fashion photography, models. And then she would put like quotes and poetry and grammar. And another thing that she like was passionate about was she was like passionate about talking about her mental health, because that was something that she really struggled with. So at a young age, Alyssa was diagnosed with bipolar disorder and depression, and she was prescribed multiple medications for it. And there were times that she would stop taking it, probably because the symptoms were like really heavy, and it probably just made it really hard to function sometimes. So there were times that she would stop taking some of her medications, and she kept her mental health private for the younger portion of her life until she started her blog. Her family reported that she never really showed like suicidal tendencies or anything like that. She was always a bright student and, basically tried to manage her condition as best as she could. But they did say that there were times that she would have hallucinations that would literally paralyze her in fear. And she was even hospitalized once for it. There was another time where they said that she went missing for a while. And it didn't last long, but she went missing for a while, and that was very troubling for the family. So Alyssa would discuss in her blog about how her mental health was taking a toll and how she was basically struggling with depression. And she also mentioned how she felt like she was wasting her life. And so she decided to drop a couple classes because, like I said, the mental health was taking a toll and she just felt very overwhelmed. So she decided to take a break from school for a while and do a solo trip to California. She called it a West Coast tour. Her parents didn't really like the idea of their daughter, traveling out of the country by herself. But she's an adult, she's 22 years old, and she promised them that she would check in with them every day and let them know how she was doing. Plus, she was blogging about it every day and, basically talking about the experiences she was having, and she was very positive during this entire trip. I want to emphasize that she was very positive. She was very happy. She was happy to be, out in the world, and she was having really fun experiences. She just talked about being able to just sleep as long as she wanted to and meet people, and she met a couple friends from school, and she just was having a great time. She flew to San Diego first and stayed a while and had a good time, went to the zoo and stuff, and then she ended up flying to Los Angeles, and a couple days later, she checked into the Cecil Hotel on January 22nd. So a couple days after January 22nd, she ended up checking into the Cecil Hotel. And she checked into a room where she had roommates, I guess. She ended up being switched to a different room because she started causing a disturbance. I couldn't really find what she was doing, but I think they said that she was behaving oddly. And like I said, there were times where she stopped taking her medication and it would take a toll on her. And so they said that she started behaving strangely. So the hotel basically switched her to a solo room where she just had her own private room. So Alyssa was last seen January 31st, and by February 1st, her parents, they didn't receive a check-in call from her, and so they reported her missing. Sorry, I said February 1st, her parents reported her missing. It was actually February 8th. While Alyssa is missing, guests begin to complain about their hotel bathroom water faucet. The water is dark and murky and it has a terrible smell. I think someone even said they tasted it, but it's why would you do that? Why would you taste the water is dark? It's a dark brown color. And so they're complaining about the quality of the water, and they said that the water pressure is low. The Cecil Hotel kept 4 1,000 gallon water tanks on the top of their roof, and that's what supplied their water. February 19th, the hotel sent up a maintenance worker to the roof to check on the water tanks. And the water tanks have a ladder that leads to the very top of the water tank. So he went to check on one of the water tanks, and one of the water tanks has they all have a hatch at the top, a square hatch. And he saw that the square hatch, basically the entrance into the water tank, was unsecure and unlocked. And so when he opened it up to check inside, there inside he found the body of Alyssa Lamb. She was face up, nude, and her body was completely bloated, and she was deceased, unfortunately. Also, inside of the water tank with her was her clothing, her shoes, and in her pocket was her key card. And they also said that on her clothing there were there was sand and pebbles, and they said that's from the rooftop. And so some people say that if she actually climbed inside herself, her clothing would have been on the floor, right? Because she had like dirt pebbles and stuff all over her clothing. And also, why would she dump her clothes into the tank with her if she jumped inside herself? Like, if she did this herself, why would she do that? And then also the hatch, like the hatch is not like the type of hatch that closes on its own. It has to be closed. So here's the thing. Did she climb in herself and get stuck? Because once you jump in, like I said, it's 1,000-gallon water tank. So once you jump inside, you can't climb your way out. There's no way to climb your way out. They said that it was like half full, but still, that's 500 gallons. So she obviously got trapped inside if she did jump, but like, is there a way that she maybe like jumped in or fell in? I don't know. But her death, there was no, when they did the autopsy, there was no signs of foul play. Whether or not they did a sexual assault kit on her is unknown. That wasn't released to the public. I feel like they should have, because I feel like any time a young woman dies under suspicious circumstances, I feel like all the possibilities should be explored and nothing really should be ruled out. Like, you should explore all the possibilities. But they didn't find any signs of foul play on her body or anything. And then they did a blood test on her, and they saw that she had skipped on taking some of her medications, and she had been doing it for a while. She was taking some of her medications, but she wasn't taking all of them. And the one medication that she was supposed to take is supposed to help with her mania and like hallucinations and basically things like that. And so she had stopped taking that particular medication. So February 14th, prior to the discovery of Alyssa's body, there was elevator footage that was taken the night she went missing. And in this footage, she's behaving what some would consider strangely. It wouldn't be considered strange if you look at it from a belief that maybe she was being followed and harassed. So if she was being followed and harassed, then she wasn't acting strange. But if no one was following or harassing her, then yes, the behavior is strange. What she's doing in the video, I'll actually put it up so you can see it. But what she's doing in the video, it almost appears to me, and others have said this too, it appears to me that she is almost a little bit playful. She looks afraid too, but it looks kind of playful, almost like a child. She's like peeking, she's pushing the numbers on the elevator, and she looks paranoid a little bit. It's like a mix between being playful, like hide and go seek, and a mix between someone that's like, oh, is that person following me? Like, it kind of looks like that. And then the strange hand movements that she's doing, it just shows that, like, you know, she wasn't taking her medication. And like I said, her roommate said that she was causing a disturbance. So there could have been, like, she was having like a manic episode. So some have a theory that she is playing an elevator game. It's like a creepy elevator game, and the rules are you have to be the only player, just one player, and you have to be in a building where it's 10 floors or more. And what you do is you visit each floor of the building in the elevator in a specific order, and it's supposed to give you access into this paranormal world once you visit the floors in a certain order. And also, once you've gained access into this paranormal world, a young girl is supposed to basically appear, and she's like comes into the elevator with you or follows you or whatever. And they say if you interact with this girl, basically if you interact with her or acknowledge her at all, you lose access to this world and you get trapped. If you look at the video, she is like messing with the keys, and then she's also like stepping in and out, like checking. She looks like she's interacting with someone, and then some people say that they see a shadowy figure enter the elevator. So that's pretty creepy. So yeah, like I said, I'm not gonna rule out anything, especially like foul play. I'm not gonna rule that out because anything's possible with the way she went missing and the way her body was found. So I'm gonna keep an open mind with that. But like I said, her death was ruled an accidental drowning, and the case is currently closed, but there are people petitioning for it to be reopened. And I pretty much would agree with that. Like, I feel like you should just explore every avenue. And then another thing to keep in mind, the elevator footage that I just showed, they say that it has been tampered with. They say that it's missing 1 minute of footage, and that when she's like doing the hand gestures, they said that that's when it has been slowed down after the video has been like edited. So like it's been trimmed, and so like to make up for it, they like slowed that part down. So it makes the hand gestures look even weirder, but it's supposed to be a little quicker. Kind of like she's like loosening up her arms. They said that maybe she was double jointed and was like kind of loosening up her arms. Always like keep an open mind about that possibility of maybe there was foul play and the hotel like did a cover up. But I don't know, because I don't have all the facts. Here's what I believe. I believe what a lot of people believe. I believe that the Cecil Hotel is haunted. It's so haunted that it even inspired an episode on American Horror Story. I do believe that it's haunted, and here's why. But anytime a property has housed so many violent deaths, so many like evil people has gone in and out of it. Like I said, 2 different serial killers have stayed there while they were on their murder sprees. So many violent deaths had occurred, whether it was suicide or a homicide. And then it's surrounded by like despair. Like there's homeless people everywhere. There's just so much despair in that particular area. Demonic entities have been known to gather in places where terrible things have happened, kind of like flies, how flies are attracted to like rotting corpses and like terrible smells. That's how demonic entities are. And so once these demonic entities have made themselves comfortable, they found a place where they pretty much enjoy the surroundings. Then they find a host. They look for someone who is usually alone, sad, dealing with mental health issues, angry. They love to prey on people that are angry, and they attach themselves to that person. Once they've attached themselves to that person, they feed on the person's situation, or basically what the person is already feeling. Usually the people that they feed on are people who are already going through a hard time, so it's kind of like they're kicking them while they're down. And so they inspire them with hateful thoughts, sad thoughts, hopeless thoughts, and basically preying on them while they're already in a down moment. They inspire self-hatred and the hatred of others. So basically that appeals to people who are depressed, people who are angry, and so they inspire that to increase and to get worse. And their number one goal is for you to harm yourself and to harm others. And the Cecil Hotel has a huge, long history of that, of people harming themselves or harming others. So I feel like for the Cecil Hotel, it started off with, just a guy who bought it, who wanted it to be like a nice, luxurious spot for, happy people. He wanted the Cecil Hotel to be a place of happiness. But all it takes for demonic entities to ruin that is for one person who is already being oppressed to enter that area, to enter that space, and to spread it, to infect it. And I feel like that's what happened with like the Great Depression happening and all that despair. It attracted a lot of riffraff, like I said, and they infected that area. And so as a result, the Cecil Hotel was infected, and because it was infected, it affected a lot of people that were already going through hard times. So it became like the perfect spot for demonic entities to prey on people that were already going through hard times, and also bad people that were intentionally looking to do harm, which attracted more evil entities. So I'm not gonna like make any conclusions about Elisa's death particularly. I do believe that whatever happened to her, whether it was self-inflicted or whether it was a homicide or someone did it to her, I believe that there was a demonic influence in the entire situation itself. And I just want to say that my condolences goes out to her family and to every family that was affected by like all the victims that stayed at the Cecil Hotel. My condolences goes out to their families, because it's like really sad situations that happen. And I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope it was informative. My whole like reasoning behind like making this like talking about this story was to discuss the historical like stories about the Cecil Hotel, because I found it interesting as well as sad, and then to also kind of spread awareness about demonic entities. My other intention is also to discuss about like demonic entities are attracted to people who don't have a spiritual covering from Jesus Christ. So I would encourage anybody who's watching it to basically like find a relationship, create a relationship with Jesus Christ, and to get under that spiritual covering so that you and your family are protected from demonic entities, because they are real. They're ancient evil spirits that are real. And they're looking to deceive so that they can destroy your life and everyone's life around you. So thank you so much for watching, and please stay tuned for the next video. Yep, I hope you enjoyed, and just please stay tuned for the next episode.